think some of the moral dilemmas people talk about are a bit exaggerated, particularly as it comes to an alleged disagreement between Immanuel Kant's deontology and John Stuart Mill's utilitarianism. Now, it's true that Kant cares about the rules and that Kant wants us to follow patterns of behavior that are universalizable. He wants us to follow the categorical imperative and make sure that the justifications for each action we make could be universalized. And it's true that Mill cares about happiness and the results. And so we presume that, therefore, any difficult situation in which there's some conflict between a moral rule and good, happy results is a conflict between Kant and Mill. I think this is somewhat oversimplified. For one thing, Mill tells us very clearly that we have received from past moral experience moral rules that have worked well in past experience and led to good results, and that's why we have the rules. And although they are subject to correction based on future experience, we do have them, and we should use them at least tentatively. There is a presumption in favor of the inherited moral principles. This is just Mill being a good empiricist. You find the same thing in science. Every scientific theory is subject to correction in future experience, but there is a presumption in favor of the well-established theories. The well-established theories are usually, probably, mostly right because that's why they were established, because they worked well in the past. They led to good results, experience supported them, and so on. And Kant cares about happiness. If you study Kant's ethics enough, you find that happiness does have an important place in his ethics. And for that matter, for the categorical imperative version 2, treat human beings as ends in themselves, or treat rational beings as ends in themselves, for this to have any practical content, we're going to have to care about the well-being and the happiness of these human beings, these rational beings. So it's oversimplified, but there is at least one plausible line of attack for concocting a moral dilemma where Kant and Mill will lead to different results. What you really want, I think, is a scenario in which the happiness of a rational being comes into direct conflict with treating that being as an end in itself. So, for example, you're not supposed to eat people. You're not supposed to eat human beings. You're not supposed to eat rational beings. Eating people is a paradigmatic case of treating them as means to an end and not as ends in themselves. Now, what if, however, eating someone actually makes him happy? Here you might have an actual conflict between Mill and Kant, and it's an absurd scenario, but it's one that shows up in some magnificent science fiction. I refer here to the work of Douglas Adams. I refer to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In the books, we're talking about Book 2, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. This did not make it into the Disney film. This is in the BBC radio production, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's in the BBC film production, and I will do my best to provide a current link to the video where Arthur Dent faces the moral question of whether you should eat the rational being that wants to be eaten. Kant, I'm quite sure, would say no. At first glance, it looks like Mill says yes. Incidentally, I suspect that there are resources within Kant or Mill or both for arguing perhaps to the same conclusions as to what we should do. I'm cautious myself with this particular moral dilemma as a place where Kant and Mill definitely disagree, but I think it is a magnificent specimen of a possible disagreement between Kant and Mill, because the rational being actually receives happiness, receives pleasure, high-quality intellectual pleasure in Mill's terms, it would seem, from the prospect of being eaten. I will now see if I can give you a link. I'll see if I can make it appear right here. Thanks for watching.